It was a quiet night at the SETI Institute in California. Dr. Sarah Chen sat at her desk, eyes fixed on the computer screen in front of her. The room was dark, lit only by the glow of monitors. For years, she and her team had listened to the stars, hoping for a sign of extraterrestrial life. Tonight was just another night of endless data and cosmic silence. Or so she thought. At 2:37 a.m., a strange pattern appeared on her screen. At first, Sarah thought it was a glitch. She blinked, rubbed her eyes, and looked again. The pattern was still there, pulsing steadily. "This can't be," she whispered, her heart racing. She quickly ran several tests, checking and double-checking the data. There was no mistake. This was a signal, and it wasn't coming from Earth. With shaking hands, Sarah reached for her phone. She called her boss, Dr. James Wong, waking him from a deep sleep. "James, you need to come in now," she said, her voice trembling with excitement and fear. Within an hour, the SETI Institute was buzzing with activity. Scientists huddled around computers, talking in hushed, excited tones. As the sun rose, news of the signal spread like wildfire through the scientific community. By noon, government officials arrived. Men and women in dark suits filled the halls, their faces serious. They asked questions, made phone calls, and whispered to each other in corners. Sarah and her team worked tirelessly to decode the signal. It wasn't easy. The message was complex, unlike anything they had seen before. But bit by bit, they began to understand. It's a distress call," Sarah announced, her eyes wide with disbelief. The room fell silent. "There's a fleet of alien ships out there, and they're asking for help." The news hit like a shockwave. Alien life was real, and they were reaching out to Earth. But they weren't coming as conquerors or explorers. They were coming as refugees, seeking aid. Within hours, the President of the United States was informed. She immediately called for an emergency meeting of world leaders. The United Nations building in New York became the center of the most important gathering in human history. Leaders from every nation arrived, their faces a mix of worry and wonder. The meeting room was tense, filled with whispered conversations and nervous glances. At the front of the room, Dr. Chen stood next to a large screen. She felt small in front of so many powerful people, but she knew the importance of her words. With a deep breath, she began to explain. "The signal comes from a fleet of ships about 50 million miles from Earth," she said, her voice steady despite her nerves. "They're an advanced civilization, far beyond our technology. But something has gone wrong. A strange radiation has damaged their ships. They can't get home, and they're running out of resources." The room erupted in questions. Were the aliens a threat? How many were there? What exactly did they want from Earth? Sarah answered as best she could, but there was still so much unknown. As the day turned to night, debates raged on. Some leaders saw the aliens as a potential threat, arguing that Earth should protect itself. Others sought a chance for humanity to prove its worth on a cosmic scale. In China, scientists worked around the clock to verify the signal. In Russia, military leaders debated potential strategies. In smaller nations, people looked to the sky with a mix of hope and fear. Social media exploded with theories and opinions. #AlienSo trended worldwide. People gathered in streets and parks, looking up at the stars with new eyes. For the first time in history, all of humanity was united in a single thought: we are not alone. As dawn broke on a new day, the world held its breath. Humanity stood at a crossroads. The choice they would make would not just affect their future, but the future of an unknown civilization among the stars. In her small office, Sarah looked out the window at the rising sun. She thought about the aliens out there, waiting and hoping. She thought about humanity, with all its flaws and strengths, and she dared to hope that this could be the beginning of something amazing. The distress signal from the stars continued to pulse, a steady reminder of the monumental decision that lay ahead. The world had changed overnight, and nothing would ever be the same again. The world held its breath as humanity prepared for its first deliberate contact with alien life. In a secret facility deep in the Nevada desert, a team of Earth's best scientists and linguists gathered. Their mission: to establish communication with the stranded alien fleet. Dr. Sarah Chen, the scientist who first discovered the signal, stood at the heart of this operation. Her eyes were tired from sleepless nights, but they sparkled with excitement. Next to her, Dr. Amit Patel, Earth's leading expert in theoretical alien languages, nervously adjusted his glasses. "Are we ready?" asked General Laura Thompson, her voice tense. Sarah nodded, her throat dry. "As ready as we'll ever be." With trembling hands, Sarah initiated the transmission. They had crafted a message of peace and offer of assistance, using mathematical principles they hoped would be universal. Now they waited. Minutes ticked by, feeling like hours. The room was so quiet you could hear a pin drop. Then suddenly, a light on the console blinked. A response. "They're answering," Sarah exclaimed, her heart pounding. The room burst into action. Computers hummed as they processed the incoming data. Amit's fingers flew over his keyboard, his face a mask of concentration, as he worked to decipher the alien language. After what seemed like an eternity, Amit looked up, his eyes wide. I think I understand," he said, his voice filled with awe. "They're thanking us for responding. They say they are the Zorak, a species from a star system 200 light-years away." The revelation sent shockwaves through the room. The aliens had a name. They had a home. They were real. As Amit continued to translate, more details emerged. The Zorak were indeed a highly advanced civilization. They had been on a scientific mission to study a nearby nebula when disaster struck. An unexpected burst of exotic radiation had severely damaged their ship's propulsion and life support systems. "They say their technology is usually far beyond anything we could imagine," Emmett explained. "But this radiation has rendered much of it useless. They're stuck, unable to repair their ships or return home." Sarah frowned, puzzled. "But if they're so advanced, how can we help them?" The answer came in the next transmission. The Zorak explained that while their technology was highly sophisticated, it was also incredibly specialized. The radiation had affected it in ways they couldn't counteract. Earth's technology, while less advanced, was more robust and adaptable. It might succeed where their own had failed. As the exchange continued, more was revealed about the Zorak. They were a peaceful species, dedicated to scientific exploration. Their fleet carried thousands of individuals, including families with children. They had been adrift for what translated to several Earth months, their resources dwindling. The gravity of the situation became clear. This wasn't just a scientific opportunity. It was a humanitarian crisis on a cosmic scale. General Thompson stepped forward. "We need to inform the world leaders immediately," she said, her voice grave. "This is bigger than any one nation. We're going to need a global effort to help these beings." As word spread, reactions around the world were mixed. Many were excited at the prospect of helping an alien species, seeing it as humanity's chance to prove itself on the galactic stage. Others were fearful, worried about the risks of inviting extraterrestrial beings to Earth. Debates raged in government chambers and on social media. Scientists argued over the best ways to assist the Zorak. Engineers began drafting plans for possible rescue missions. Meanwhile, the communication with the aliens continued. Sarah and Amit worked tirelessly, learning more about the Zorak with each exchange. Despite the vast differences between their species, they found surprising similarities. The Zorak had families, they had art, they had dreams and fears. As the day turned to night, Sarah stepped outside the facility for a moment. She looked up at the stars, knowing that somewhere out there, an alien child might be looking back, hoping for rescue. The fate of two civilizations now hung in the balance. The decisions made in the coming days would shape the future of both humanity and the Zorak. The greatest adventure in human history was about to begin. The United Nations General Assembly Hall in New York City buzzed with tension. Leaders from every nation on Earth had gathered for what many were calling the most important debate in human history. The question before them was simple yet monumental. Should humanity help the stranded Zorak? At the center of the storm stood Dr. Sarah Chen, the scientist who had first detected the alien signal. She had been asked to present the facts to the assembly. As she approached the podium, she could feel the weight of billions of eyes upon her. "Distinguished leaders," Sarah began, her voice steady despite her nerves. "The Zorak are real, and they need our help. Their fleet of 50 ships carries over 100,000 individuals, including children. They have been stranded for months, and their supplies are running low." A murmur ran through the crowd. The idea of alien children in danger struck a chord with many. Sarah continued, "The Zorak are peaceful and highly advanced. Helping them could lead to unprecedented scientific and technological breakthroughs for humanity." As Sarah stepped down, the debate began in earnest. The assembly split into two main camps, those in favor of helping the aliens and those against. Ambassador Elena Rodriguez of Spain stood up. "This is our chance to prove ourselves as a species," she argued passionately. "We have the opportunity to save lives and make first contact with a peaceful, advanced civilization. How can we turn our backs on them?" Her words were met with applause from many delegates, but not everyone was convinced. "And what if this is a trick?" countered President Adebayo of Nigeria, his voice booming through the hall. "We know nothing about these aliens. They could be luring us into a trap. We must protect Earth first." The debate raged on, growing more heated by the minute. Some nations pledged their full support to a rescue mission. Others demanded more time to study the situation. A few even suggested preparing for war, just in case. In the public gallery, Sarah watched with a mix of frustration and hope. She knew the facts, but she also understood the fear. The future of both species hung in the balance. As the arguments continued, an unexpected voice cut through the noise. It was Ambassador Chen Lai of China, known for his quiet demeanor. "Colleagues," he said, his soft voice somehow silencing the room, "let us consider this from another angle. If it were us stranded in space, wouldn't we hope that another civilization would come to our aid? Are we not defined by our compassion as much as our caution?" His words seemed to shift the mood in the room. Many delegates nodded thoughtfully. Outside the UN building, the world watched and waited. In Times Square, thousands gathered, their eyes fixed on the giant screens broadcasting the debate. In a small village in India, families huddled around a single radio. On social media, #HumanityDecides trended globally. Back in the assembly hall, the debate took another turn when Dr. Amit Patel, the linguist who had been communicating with the Zorak, was called to speak. "The Zorak have shared something with us," he said, his voice trembling with emotion. "They have a word in their language. The closest translation is cosmic family. They believe that all intelligent life in the universe is connected. By helping them, we wouldn't just be saving their lives. We'd be joining a galactic community." A hush fell over the assembly as the implications of his words sank in. As the day wore on, more leaders spoke. Some voiced fears of cultural contamination. Others spoke of the potential benefits. New technologies, new medicines, new ways of thinking. Finally, as the sun began to set over New York, the Secretary General called for a vote. The tension in the room was palpable as the votes were tallied. Sarah held her breath. She thought of the Zorak, waiting anxiously in their stranded ships. She thought of Earth on the brink of a new era. Whatever the outcome, she knew the world would never be the same. The Secretary General stood, holding the results in his hand. The room fell silent. Across the globe, billions waited to hear humanity's decision. Would Earth reach out to the stars or turn away in fear? The future of two civilizations rested on the words he was about to speak. The world held its breath as the Secretary General of the United Nations announced the results of the vote. With a clear majority, humanity had decided to help the Zorak. Operation Cosmic Lifeline was born. In the days that followed, Earth buzzed with activity. The best minds from every nation came together in an unprecedented show of global cooperation. Their mission: to design and launch a rescue operation for the stranded alien fleet. At the heart of this effort was the newly formed International Space Cooperation Agency, ISCA. Their headquarters, a sprawling complex in Houston, Texas, became the command center for Operation Cosmic Lifeline. Dr. Sarah Chen found herself at the center of it all. As the scientist who first detected the Zorak signal, she was named the operation's chief science advisor. The weight of responsibility was enormous, but Sarah was determined to see this through. "We have 90 days," she announced to a room full of engineers, scientists, and astronauts. "That's how long the Zorak can hold out with their current supplies. We need to have a rescue plan ready by then." The challenge was immense. How could Earth's relatively primitive technology help a civilization far more advanced than their own? The answer came from an unexpected source. Dr. Raj Patel, a young engineer from India, proposed a brilliant idea. "We can't match their tech," he explained, his eyes shining with excitement. "But we can use our tech in ways they never imagined. It's not about being more advanced. It's about being different." His plan involved using a combination of Earth's most robust space technologies in innovative ways. Old NASA shuttles would be refitted with new engines. Russian Soyuz capsules would be modified to dock with the alien ships. Chinese quantum computers would be used to navigate the complex space currents. As the plan took shape, countries around the world contributed their best resources. Japan offered its most advanced robots for space repair work. Brazil provided rare metals crucial for building new components. Even smaller nations played their part, with Iceland offering its geothermal plants to power the massive computers needed for the mission calculations. The spirit of cooperation was infectious. People everywhere were pitching in. Schools held fundraisers. Retired engineers and scientists came out of retirement to offer their expertise. Millions of ordinary citizens volunteered to help in any way they could. But not everything went smoothly. There were setbacks and arguments. Some components failed initial tests. Countries squabbled over who would lead certain parts of the mission. The timeline seemed impossible to meet. In one particularly tense moment, a crucial engine test failed spectacularly. The prototype exploded on the launch pad, setting the project back by weeks. Sarah watched the fiery debris in horror, feeling the weight of two civilizations on her shoulders. But giving up was not an option. The team worked around the clock, solving problems as they arose. They adapted, innovated, and pressed on. As the days ticked by, progress was made. The rescue ships began to take shape in shipyards around the world. Giant rockets were assembled to launch the components into orbit. A small army of astronauts trained day and night, preparing for the most important mission in human history. 60 days into the project, Sarah stood in the ISCA control room, watching a live feed from the orbiting construction site. Tears welled in her eyes as she saw the rescue fleet coming together, a shining testament to human determination and ingenuity. Dr. Amit Patel, who had been in constant communication with the Zorak, approached her with a tablet. "The Zorak sent a new message," he said, his voice filled with emotion. "They've been observing our efforts. They say they've never seen anything like it. They're in awe of us, Sarah." Sarah felt a lump in her throat. Humanity, often divided and flawed, had united for something greater than themselves. They had risen to an impossible challenge with creativity, courage, and compassion. As the final days of preparation approached, a sense of nervous excitement filled the air. The rescue ships were almost ready. Soon, they would embark on their journey to save the Zorak. Sarah looked out the window at the star-filled sky. Somewhere out there, an alien civilization was waiting, hoping, and humanity was ready to answer their call. Operation Cosmic Lifeline was about to launch, carrying with it the hopes and dreams of two worlds. The greatest adventure in human history was about to begin. The day of launch arrived with a mix of excitement and nervous tension. At Kennedy Space Center in Florida, massive crowds gathered to witness history. The rescue fleet, consisting of 5 ships, stood ready on the launch pads, gleaming in the morning sun. Commander Elena Rodriguez, a veteran astronaut from Spain, led the international crew of 20. As she stepped onto the launch pad, she took a deep breath. The weight of 2 civilizations rested on their shoulders. Ready for the greatest road trip in history, she asked her crew over the comms, trying to lighten the mood. A chorus of nervous laughter replied. They were as ready as they'd ever be. In Houston, Dr. Sarah Chen watched from mission control, her heart pounding. Beside her, Dr. Amit Patel prepared to send one last message to the Zorak. We're on our way. The countdown began. 10, 9, 8. The world held its breath. 3, 2, 1. With a deafening roar, the rockets ignited. Slowly at first, then with increasing speed, the rescue fleet rose into the sky. Cheers erupted around the world as humanity reached out to the stars. As the ships broke free of Earth's atmosphere, the real challenge began. The Zorak fleet was 50 million miles away, a distance never before traveled by humans. The journey would take weeks, even with their most advanced propulsion systems. The first few days passed smoothly. The crew settled into their routines, checking systems and preparing for the challenges ahead. But space had other plans. On day 5, a warning alarm blared through the lead ship. A micrometeoroid had struck one of the oxygen tanks, causing a slow leak. Commander Rodriguez had to think fast. Divert power to the force fields, she ordered. Ensign Zhang, prepare for a spacewalk. We need to patch that hole. For 6 tense hours, the crew worked to repair the damage. On Earth, millions watched the live stream, hearts in their throats. Finally, Ensign Zhang's voice crackled over the comms. Patch complete. We're secure. A collective sigh of relief echoed across 2 worlds. But that was just the beginning. As the fleet ventured further into uncharted space, they faced challenge after challenge. Unusual radiation interfered with their communications. Strange gravitational fields pulled them off course. At one point, a mysterious energy surge knocked out their main computers, forcing them to navigate by the stars like ancient sailors. Through it all, the crew's spirit remained unbroken. They adapted, they innovated, they persevered. Their journey became a testament to human resilience and ingenuity. Back on Earth, Sarah and her team worked around the clock, helping the crew solve each new problem. The whole world was pitching in. School children sent up ideas for conserving energy. Retired navigators offered tips for star-based navigation. Every small victory was celebrated globally. As they neared the edge of charted space, tension mounted. They were about to go where no human had gone before. The unknown loomed before them, both terrifying and thrilling. Commander Rodriguez gathered her crew for a moment of reflection. No matter what happens next, she said, her voice strong, we've already achieved the impossible. We've shown what humanity can do when we work together. Just then, a shout came from the ship's sensors officer. Commander, I'm picking up a signal. It's them. On the main screen, a blip appeared, then another, and another. The Zorak fleet came into view, a collection of massive ships drifting in the vastness of space. A message crackled through their comms. The universal translator worked to decipher it. Greetings, humans. We welcome you to the stars. Tears of joy and relief flowed freely among the crew. They had made it. Against all odds, humans had reached the Zorak. As the rescue fleet prepared to approach the alien ships, Commander Rodriguez sent a message back to Earth. Her words were brief but powerful. We've arrived. First contact established. Humanity has touched the stars. In mission control, Sarah hugged Emmett, both of them crying and laughing at the same time. Around the world, people poured into the streets, celebrating this monumental achievement. The moment humanity had dreamed of for centuries had arrived. They had journeyed to the edge of known space and made contact with an alien civilization. But the greatest challenges and the greatest opportunities still lay ahead. The rescue mission was about to begin. As the human rescue fleet approached the massive Zorak ships, the true scale of the challenge became clear. The alien vessels were enormous, easily dwarfing the largest human spacecraft. Their sleek, otherworldly design spoke of technology far beyond Earth's understanding. Commander Elena Rodriguez took a deep breath. "All right, team. This is what we've trained for. Let's show them what humanity can do." The first task was to dock with the main Zorak ship. This proved trickier than expected. The Zorak docking systems were completely incompatible with human technology. It was like trying to plug a toaster into a tree. Engineer Yuki Tanaka from Japan had an idea. "What if we create an adapter?" she suggested. "Like a universal phone charger, but for spaceships." Using 3D printers on board, the team quickly designed and produced a docking adapter. It wasn't pretty. A mess of cables and makeshift connectors, but it worked. The human ship successfully linked with the Zorak vessel. As the airlock opened, humanity had its first face-to-face encounter with the Zorak. The aliens were tall, slender beings with iridescent skin and large, expressive eyes. Despite their alien appearance, their body language conveyed clear relief and gratitude. The Zorak leader, introduced as High Scholar Zolix, greeted them. "We welcome you, humans," the translator conveyed. "Your journey here defies our understanding. We eagerly await your assistance." The human team soon realized the extent of the Zorak's problems. The exotic radiation had affected their ships in ways they couldn't counteract. Their advanced technology, reliant on principles humans barely understood, had been rendered useless. Dr. Amit Patel, communicating from Earth, summed it up best. "It's like they have a super advanced computer, but can't turn it on because the power button is broken." The challenge was immense, but the human team was determined. They broke into smaller groups, each tackling a different problem. For the life support systems, they found an unexpected solution. The Zorak air purifiers were non-functional, but engineer Carlos Mendoza remembered an old NASA experiment. "We can use plants," he explained. "A hydroponic system, nature's own air purifiers." Within days, parts of the Zorak ships were transformed into green, oxygen-producing gardens. The Zorak were amazed at this simple yet effective solution. The propulsion systems posed a bigger challenge. The Zorak drives operated on principles of quantum entanglement, far beyond current human science. But physicist Dr. Aditi Sharma had an idea. "We can't fix their engines," she said, "but we can tow them." Her plan involved using the combined power of the human fleet to create a massive electromagnetic field, essentially creating a space tugboat. It was risky and had never been attempted on this scale. But with careful calculations and some trial and error, it worked. Slowly but surely, the human fleet began to move the Zorak ships. Perhaps the most ingenious solution came for the power systems. The Zorak ships were running on emergency power, which was quickly depleting. Engineer Lai Wei from China suggested an audacious plan: solar sails. "Their ships are huge," he explained. "If we cover them with reflective material, we can capture enough solar energy to power their basic systems." It was a massive undertaking. The human crew worked tirelessly, spacewalking for hours to attach the makeshift solar sails. But it paid off. As the sails unfurled, stretching for miles in the darkness of space, power began to flow back into the Zorak ships. With each problem solved, the Zorak's awe of human ingenuity grew. High Scholar Zilix expressed their amazement. "Your solutions are so simple, yet brilliant. You see possibilities where we saw only obstacles." Commander Rodriguez smiled. "That's the human way," she said. "We may not be the most advanced, but we're stubborn and creative. We don't give up." As news of each success reached Earth, celebrations erupted around the globe. Humanity had not only reached the stars, but was proving its worth on a galactic stage. There were still challenges ahead. The journey back to Earth would be long and fraught with dangers. But as humans and Zorak worked side by side, a new sense of hope blossomed. This wasn't just a rescue mission anymore. It was the beginning of a friendship that would change both civilizations forever. In Houston, Dr. Sarah Chen watched the updates with tears in her eyes. "We did it," she whispered. "We really did it." The greatest adventure in human history was far from over, but humanity had risen to the challenge. With ingenuity, determination, and heart, they had proven that sometimes the simplest solutions could solve even the most advanced problems. The journey back to Earth was a voyage of discovery for both humans and Zorak. As the massive fleet of combined ships made its way through the cosmos, two vastly different civilizations learned to work together, overcoming challenges and forming bonds that transcended their differences. Commander Elena Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the lead human ship, watching as a Zorak child named Scylla marveled at the sight of Earth growing larger in the view screen. The alien child's eyes, large and filled with swirling colors, reflected the blue and green planet. "It's beautiful," Scylla said through the translator. "So full of life and color." Elena smiled. "Wait until you see it up close." As they neared Earth, the question of where to land the enormous Zorak ships became critical. No single country could accommodate such massive vessels. In a historic decision, the United Nations declared a large area of international waters in the Pacific Ocean as a temporary alien landing zone. The day of landing arrived, and the world held its breath. Billions watched as the fleet descended through Earth's atmosphere, the Zorak ships glittering like falling stars in the daylight sky. With incredible precision, they touched down on the ocean's surface, their advanced technology allowing them to float effortlessly. As the ships settled, small boats and helicopters approached, carrying scientists, diplomats, and media from around the world. The moment of true first contact on Earth had arrived. High Scholar Zilix stepped onto a specially prepared platform, becoming the first Zorak to set foot on Earth. The alien leader's iridescent skin shimmered in the sunlight as they took in the new world around them. On behalf of the Zorak people, Zilix's words were translated and broadcast globally. "We extend our deepest gratitude and friendship to the people of Earth. Your bravery, ingenuity, and compassion have saved our civilization. We are forever in your debt." The following weeks were a whirlwind of cultural exchange, scientific collaboration, and diplomatic negotiations. The Zorak, true to their word, began sharing their advanced knowledge with humanity. In return, humans introduced the Zorak to the rich diversity of Earth's cultures. Zorak delegates visited every continent, marveling at the variety of landscapes, foods, and customs. They were particularly fascinated by Earth's arts and music, finding beauty in the emotional expressions so different from their own logical culture. Scientists from both species worked tirelessly to understand each other's technologies. The Zorak were amazed by humanity's ability to innovate with limited resources, while humans were in awe of the advanced principles behind Zorak science. Dr. Sarah Chen led a team studying Zorak medicine, which promised cures for many of Earth's most devastating diseases. Meanwhile, Zorak engineers were fascinated by Earth's robotics, seeing potential they had never imagined. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. Some on Earth feared the aliens' advanced technology, worried about potential threats to human autonomy. Others saw opportunities for profit or power in the new alliance. Protests and heated debates erupted in many countries. In response, both human and Zorak leaders worked to address fears and build trust. They established joint councils to oversee technology sharing and cultural exchange, ensuring that both civilizations would benefit equally from their new friendship. As the months passed, the presence of the Zorak began to transform Earth in unexpected ways. Global cooperation, once thought impossible, became a reality as humanity united to work with their new alien friends. Old conflicts seemed petty in the face of the vast galactic community they were now part of. 1 year after the Zorak arrival, a historic ceremony was held at the United Nations. High Scholar Zalix and the UN Secretary-General signed a Galactic Cooperation Treaty, officially establishing Earth as a member of the interstellar community. As they signed, Commander Rodriguez stood nearby, thinking of their incredible journey. She caught Dr. Chen's eye in the audience, both of them sharing a smile of wonder and pride. Later that evening, Alina found herself stargazing with Scylla, the young Zorak she had befriended. "What do you think is out there?" Scylla asked, pointing at the stars. Alina grinned. "I don't know," she replied. "But I can't wait for us to find out together." As night fell on this new Earth, humans and Zorak alike looked to the stars with a shared sense of hope and adventure. The rescue of a stranded alien fleet had led to something far greater, the beginning of humanity's journey into a vast, wondrous galaxy full of potential new friends and incredible discoveries. The greatest chapter in human history was not ending. It was just beginning.